Hello, I'm Carol Bailey. I'll be interviewing you today. Can you please state your name?
Carlton Bailey. Your father?
Okay. From what I know, you were in Germany at the time of the Munich Massacre. Can you say why you were there?
My father was stationed in Bamberg, Germany at the time, from 71 to 74.
Can you please describe to me what was living in Germany like?
It was a beautiful experience. We actually didn't want to come back. We tried to encourage my father to go for another 3 years, but he wanted to get back to the world, the USA. That's what they call it, whenever they're abroad, elsewhere.
What was the lifestyle like?
It was, they worked very hard. They were a very intelligent type of people. When they did do work, they enjoyed themselves afterwards, but during the week they definitely worked hard. It was on a grade of what the United States has, but they were more self-sufficient and they weren't near as spoiled.
Okay. When the crisis began on September 5th, 1972, where were you at the time?
We were on a field trip with our social studies class, Mr. Van der Weyden. He was the social studies teacher for the middle school, and he always took classes on a week field trip. So we were heading back home, I believe, at the time.
Can you please describe why the tensions at the 1972 Olympics were so high?
There have been a lot of political unrest in the Middle East, and the Olympics was just a stage for them to, vent their frustrations, and that carried all the way back to the 1968 Olympics. So people were starting to show their displeasure with their governments through the Olympics, whereas before there really hadn't been any protests in the Olympics. And all during this time also, there have been, minor terrorist activity taking place with smaller terrorist groups. Namely, I believe the Baader-Meinhof gang and the Baas movement out of Spain. They had been blowing up, small targets from time to time and taking people's lives. All I can remember is
Can you describe what happened in the event from what you remember?
As I recall, I remember seeing images on the TV, on German TV, while we were on our field trip of the hostage situation as it unfolded. At the time, I didn't understand a lot of what they were saying, but we got knowledge of that afterwards.
Was the media coverage as intense as it is today?
For that particular situation, it was very intense, but they didn't have the cameras at that particular venue right away, so it took a while for a lot of the information to be slowly leaked out, and they were guarding a lot of their information. As far as releasing information to the public, it wasn't as easy for them to do, or they didn't feel that it was necessary that the public had all the information as they do today.
What was the reaction of the German people to what was happening?
I think they were shocked just as the rest of the world was, and they were more probably embarrassed, being the perfectionists that a lot of them are, with that happening on their soil, and also with World War II and Nazi extremism and the concentration camps. I think they were quite embarrassed, but again, they were shocked, and I don't think they saw it coming either.
Do you believe the German police and Israeli officials handled the whole situation correctly?
I can't, sit here and second guess them at this point. I mean, they did the best job they could at the time, and there were a lot of experts there, and they did have to act fast. It's not like they had a whole lot of time. So one way or another, some people were going to perish, and unfortunately, a lot of them did.
Being relatively young at this time, how did you interpret the information you were hearing and seeing?
It was quite a whirlwind, actually. Sort of, definitely disbelief. I didn't quite believe that somebody could be doing something like that to other people in the name of their religion or their beliefs. But at the same time, after doing some studying, I understood their frustration, the Palestinians, but I didn't think it was the proper way for them to act out in such an aggressive manner. I don't appreciate how they acted out their aggressions on a world-class stage.
Looking back now as an adult, how has your perception of the event changed?
It was such a long time ago, and so much has happened since that time as far as terrorist activity. It still stands out in my mind, but with all the terrorist problems that we have throughout the world, it's a minor incident, but it was one that started a whole-scale attack on the rest of the world through terrorist activity. It's a time that can be always looked back at as probably the beginning of worldwide terrorism.